In this video, I am going to explain you the concept of pipelining. Before that, first of all, we will see what do you mean by instruction. So in case of instruction, we are going to send the command to the processor to process something. Once the instruction will be executed, it will provide the result. In case of instruction execution, there are three cycles are included like fetch, decode, and execution. So the definition of pipelining is the process of fetching the next instruction before the previous instruction will be executed. So see in this diagram, this is the four-stage instruction pipelining architecture. The first one is the instruction will be fetch, then the instruction will be decoded, then operand will be fetched, and the instruction will be executed. Suppose for example, our instruction is move ax, bx. So in the first stage, this instruction will be fetched by your processor. That will tell the processor that we have to execute the instruction like move ax, bx. Then in the second stage, this instruction will be going for decoding purpose. In the third phase, the operand will be fetched. So AX and BX, these are the two operands are there that will be fetched by processor. And the next one, after fetching of operand, the instruction will be executed. So there are two pipeline processors are there. The first one is non-pipeline processor and the second one is pipeline processor. So these are the two architectures. So how this pipeline processor will be helpful? We will see. So in the first clock cycle, the first instruction will be fetch. We have total 3 instructions and these 3 instructions will be executed as like fetch, decode and execute. So in the first clock cycle, the first instruction will be fetch. In the second clock cycle, it will be decoded and in the third clock cycle, it will be executed. Now, the execution of our first instruction will be completed and we will forward to the second instruction execution. For executing of the second instruction, it will be again fetch, decode and execute in the fourth, fifth and sixth clock cycle. Once it will be completed, then our execution of third instruction will be started. In the seventh clock cycle, the first stage is fetch, then second one is decode, and the third one is execution. And that will be performed in the 7th, 8th, and 9th clock cycle. Once we don't have the pipeline architecture, then we require this total 9 clock cycle for executing these 3 instructions. Because each and every instruction will require fetch, decode, and execute, that is 3 clock cycle. But once we are using this pipeline processor, we will see how this instruction will be executed. In the first stage, we have fetch cycle. In the second stage, we have decode cycle. And in the third stage, we have execute cycle. In the first clock cycle, our first instruction will be fetch. In the second clock cycle, our first instruction will be decoded, that is fetch in the first clock cycle. And our second instruction will be fetch. Later on, in the third clock cycle, our first instruction will be going for execution, that is decoded in the second clock cycle. Our second instruction will be decoded, that is fetch in the second clock cycle. And our new instruction, that is instruction 3, will be fetch. So check that our instruction 1 will be executed in the third clock cycle. So what is the definition of pipelining? It is the process of fetching the next instruction before previous one will be executed. So our instruction 1 is not executed currently, but still that our instruction 2 is fetch. In the second clock cycle, our instruction 1 is in decoding stage, but still that our instruction 2 is fetched by our processor. That is the definition of our pipelining. So now let's begin with the fourth clock cycle. In the fourth clock cycle, our instruction 2 is executed and our instruction 3 will be decoded. That is fetch in the third clock cycle. See, in the third clock cycle, our instruction 2 is decoded, but our instruction 1 is executed. Our instruction 2 is not executed, but still our instruction 3 is fetched by our processor. In the fifth clock cycle, the instruction 3 will be decoded successfully. So in this pipeline processor, we require only 5 clock cycles. And in case of non-pipeline processor, we require total 9 clock cycles. So by using the pipeline processor, the speed of the operation will be improved and we require fewer clock cycles for executing of this instruction. So the definition of our pipelining is, it is the process of fetching of our next instruction before the previous one will be executed. And this pipelining concept will require the fewer clock cycle and it improves the speed of our operation. And you can remember that the instruction will be executed in the 3 clock cycle like fetch, decode and execute. That is the definition of our pipelining.